Joining us now to break down the coverage is Cassie Smedile, the Deputy Communications Director for the Republican National Committee. So, Cassie, whether we're looking at the economy, China's response to the coronavirus, what it was doing to U.S. manufacturers even before all of this, and of course, the human rights abuses in the country, how important is it for the United States to hold China accountable for these types of actions?
Extremely. This is when President Trump says, he makes a campaign promise to say, we're going to hold China accountable. And the American people say, we're going to hold you to that promise. And he has come through, whether it's being tough on China with trade and currency manipulation, as you and I have talked about, being tough on China about the origins of the Chinese coronavirus, but also as Americans, we say we want it made in America. We're tired of going to Walmart and picking up a random item on the shelf and seeing made in China. We want to see made in the USA. For too long, we have abdicated our jobs to China. And President Trump is bringing those jobs back. He has opened up the environment to bring those jobs back for American businesses to grow and start making things in the USA today, again today. And as we look at the global threats that China offers, and whether it be this pandemic or economically, having more control over our own goods, our own trade, our own economy is a very good thing coming from the top of our government right down to our kitchen tables.
And Cassie, oftentimes we see corporations, even some of our sports leagues, the NBA is one that really came to fruition over the most recent months, where they show an unwillingness to hold China accountable for almost anything. I mean, they are so scared to lose a couple bucks knowing about how much their market really is valuable over in China, but that doesn't seem to be the mindset among the American electorate. In fact, there was a poll back in April, and they haven't followed up on this since, but at the time, 2/3 of Americans had a negative favorability of how they perceived China in the aftermath of the coronavirus pandemic. So is this something that, whether you look at it politically or not, the American public does want to see some action taken against China?
Yes, and I can only imagine that the results of that poll would be even more apparent today, with people saying, let's be tough on China and let's bring it home to the United States, whether it's the NBA or Hollywood. We've seen this also with the movie making industry and how they cower to China because they're big investors in our film industry. But when you look at hardworking Americans, what drives us and our families, what determines the decisions that we make for our families, we should say Americans first, America first. And certainly not China. And as you and I, again, have discussed many times over, when you look at Joe Biden and his long history of putting the interest of the Chinese government and the interest of his own family's interest with the Chinese government ahead of the American people, that's something that should concern every voter as they go to make their decision on November 3rd.
And, you know, when we talk about this, too, I mean, we showed the video of the BBC anchor calling out the Chinese ambassador for some of these practices. It shows Uyghur Muslims on their knees, shaved heads, handcuffed, some of them with masks over their heads, and what we can only assume is being brought to them to those re-education camps. I know I shouldn't use the word genocide, but when you're taking someone's identity from them, I mean, what more are they left with at that point? When we're looking at this, how much should the Trump campaign really be slamming this point home, saying that we are the ones who are taking action against China, whereas the Biden campaign, or Joe Biden in particular, has shown an unwillingness to ever take action against China, let alone be friendly to China?
Yeah, they should and they are. You hear it from the president countless times, not that anyone in the mainstream media gives him any credit for saying it, and for doing it, whether it's sanctions, economic sanctions, whether it's calling out the religious freedom atrocities, you just pointed them out there. But we know that this has been something that the Chinese have been doing for a long time. What's happening in Hong Kong with these democracy protesters, and that they are there one day and not the next. These are practices that go really unchecked because there aren't enough people around the world who are willing to stand up to China in the way that President Trump in the United States has. And to be certain, the Chinese government is hoping Joe Biden wins on November 3rd. It is better for their business if Donald Trump is not in the White House. But we have to be thinking what's good for Americans, what's good for American business. And that's 4 more years of President Trump. So I think that gives us all we need to know about the difference between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Who do the Chinese want to win? They want Joe Biden. So that's why we need to make sure we're voting for Donald Trump.
Yeah, and I think the Biden campaign really needs to step it up if they are looking at the same polls that we are right now, because it's clear that the American people do want action when it comes to this. And even at the very beginning, I know the sound bites that are going to be used by the Trump campaign, where he said that the president was xenophobic for closing off travel to China, where China isn't eating our lunch, as Joe Biden said, whereas people in the Midwest know exactly what China is doing to their manufacturing jobs, their productivity. They've been seeing it for the better part of 20 years now. So I think that there is a demand for action to be taken. It's up for the Trump campaign to make its message clear, and it's up for the Biden campaign to at least come up with some message in response to those voters. But Cassie Smedile, I appreciate you coming on tonight, breaking down this issue of China and how the campaigns can be capitalizing on it. Thank you.